finally, one more thought. Author Orrin Woodward says he who controls the fool's gold controls the fool. All of us are looking for some pot of gold at the end of our rainbow, whether it's in tangible wealth or in something a bit less tangible. So we pay a lot of attention to those who do particularly well for themselves, like, for example, Elon Musk, becoming the richest man in the world through his Tesla electric vehicles and SpaceX satellite launches.
Elon Musk is seeing his own net worth jump by more than anyone so far this year. He and the world's 500 richest people have gained more than $850 billion in wealth.
Or the late Dr. Paul Farmer realizing a lifelong dream to change the world.
People shouldn't die of a readily treatable disease because they're poor.
But sometimes, and maybe too often, what at first appears to be a truly great deal ends up too good to be true. That's certainly what Bernie Madoff's investors learned the hard way.
This is the real tragedy. This is where the human tragedy comes in. Those people organized their lives around the fact that they had real profits when, in fact, there were never any assets at all beyond that which they put in.
As did investors in Enron. Developing a new technology to diagnose what ails us through a single drop of blood seemed a godsend to patients and investors alike, until it turned out that Elizabeth Holmes' Theranos was all an elaborate fraud.
For government prosecutors, this was put plainly as a case about fraud. They said it was a story about a Silicon Valley founder and executive who had lied and cheated in order to raise money from investors and at the same time deceived customers and doctors about the capabilities of Theranos' technology.
Even Elon Musk may in the end find out that his quest for X, that's formerly known as Twitter, leaves him with more fool's gold than real gold.
I'm wondering how much Elon Musk is regretting this impulsive decision to buy Twitter.
This week, we got a particularly powerful reminder of the dangers in letting our ambition or our greed get the better of us. When news came out of Minnesota about a ruby slippers caper, it appears that Mr. Terry Martin of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, that's the hometown of Judy Garland, bought into a plan to steal an original pair of the ruby slippers worn by Ms. Garland when she played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. The 72-year-old Mr. Martin had past experience with stealing jewels, having served prison time for burglary. But unfortunately, that past experience did not include having actually seen The Wizard of Oz. And so, when he was approached by what his lawyer called an old mob associate, he willingly believed that they were called ruby slippers because they were just that, covered with real rubies. Why else would they be insured for $1 million? So you can imagine his surprise when his old mob associate took one look at the shoes and told him those supposed rubies were really only colored glass. Disappointed, Martin walked away, leaving them with his partner in crime. Eventually, the slippers made it back to the museum after the insurance company offered a $200,000 reward. And Mr. Martin, who is in hospice care and not expected to live long, got off with time served and 1 year of supervised release. So, in the end, like Dorothy, Terry Martin of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, can return home after all.
There's no place like home.
That does it for this episode of Wall Street Week. I'm David Weston. This is Bloomberg. See you next week.